I just learned something in one of my classes about abortion that completely blew my mind because I never really thought of it this way. And I hope a lot of people use this in their pro-choice arguments. And if you're pro-life, I hope you could take a step back and, you know, maybe this will change your mind. I don't know. Abortion was never illegal until the 1860s. And what else happened in the 1860s? Slavery was abolished. So now these white men that own these farms and businesses didn't have anyone to do their free labor. So guess what? They wanted big families. They wanted kids. They wanted the kids to work on the farms and work for them for free. Abortion was never illegal because it was murder. Abortion was illegal because people were losing money.
Okay, so I saw this girl on TikTok talk about something she learned in class that was for the pro-choice argument, and I wanted to share something that I learned that no one has ever really been able to argue against. So a common argument for pro-life is that it's a life at conception, right? So let's just assume that that's true. But we all know that it needs to use the mother's body for the next 9 months. Let's also say we all agree that rape is bad. It's one of the worst things that you can do to somebody. What rape essentially is using someone's body against their will without their consent. So if you want to say that it's a life at conception, but you also agree that no one should use someone else's body against their will, then it shouldn't be any different when someone wants to get an abortion, denying the fetus consent to use her body. So there shouldn't be laws forcing women to give up their body for someone else's use. And I really don't think you can argue with that.
Do not comment that I should have given birth when I was pregnant and I should have put the baby up for adoption because I didn't want it, and that there are plenty of other couples out there that would love a baby. If those couples want a baby, if you want to sit there and push how adoption is always an option, go tell those motherfucking couples to adopt the fucking kids in the fucking foster care system that have no parents. Go tell them to go adopt the fucking kids who don't know love. Go tell them to go adopt the fucking kids that have been emotionally, physically, and sexually abused by the system. There are fucking kids out here sitting in a system getting moved around from home to home because they aren't a shiny new baby. Children are not toys, they're not cars. You don't go and say, oh, I want a kid, but I only want the new one. You care so much about the fucking kids, go care about the actual fucking living kids who don't know love. And stop being concerned with a fucking fetus that didn't even know that it was gonna be born. You care so much about the fucking kids, go care about the fucking kids. Mind your fucking business.
Support access to abortion. Isn't the Bible against abortion? No, not really. The Bible doesn't say much. Jesus definitely doesn't say anything. And there's only 2 scriptures that even remotely talk about abortion, but it's not the same thing as abortion care people receive in 2020. I'm talking about Exodus 21, 22 through 25. In this story, a woman has a miscarriage because she's been injured as a bystander to a fight nearby. Her husband is owed financial compensation for the loss of the fetus, aka his family line. But the fetus itself is not considered a life. Otherwise, the compensation would have been life for a life. That's listed in the next verse, not in this verse. It's still super patriarchal and problematic that the man is receiving compensation for harm done to his wife rather than the wife receiving compensation, but the Bible sees the woman's life as more valuable than her unborn fetus. The point is, we should not use the Bible to abuse people for their reproductive decisions, and everyone deserves to make reproductive decisions free from shame, judgment, or stigma. What does the Bible say about abortion? Part 2, Numbers 5, 11 through 31. Now, both the Exodus and the Numbers passage are talking about laws and rituals that govern life and community more than about individual stories. Basic assumptions. Polygamous marriage. One man, many women. Men can have multiple sexual partners. Women can have one male sexual partner. Women are seen as property. This ritual is wild. It's about jealousy. If a man suspects that his wife has had sex with another man, he can take her to the priest, even if he has no proof. Lots of red flags, super abusive. The priest makes a potion out of dust, water, and ink and forces the woman to drink it. If she's guilty, the potion will cause an abortion and she will be cursed. If she's innocent, she can remain able to conceive and get pregnant. This is super problematic and patriarchal. I don't condone it, But if you try to use the Bible to say that God opposes abortion at all times, in all places, for all people, that is simply not true. Remember, everyone should be free from shame, judgment, or stigma for their reproductive decisions. What does the Bible say about abortion? Part 3. Obviously, God and the Bible care about the sanctity of life. The question is, when does life begin? Let's go to Genesis and talk about some creation stories. In Genesis 1, God creates the world in 6 days. Humanity is created on day 6, but there's no particular indication of when life enters the body. There is this phrase that says, everything that has the breath of life, connecting life with breath. In Genesis 2, God creates Adam out of the dust. God breathes the breath of life into Adam's nostrils, and Adam becomes a living being, connecting that life with breath. This was a foundational understanding of Christianity until about the 1850s, more on that later, and is still foundational to Judaism today. There is no universal understanding of when life begins across science or religious traditions. It's a mystery, and God is in that mystery. So let's support and honor people making reproductive decisions without shaming, judging, or stigmatizing them. What does the Bible say about abortion? Part 4, the 10 Commandments. Remember, Part 1, Exodus 21. Part 2, Numbers 5. Part 4, Exodus 20 and Deuteronomy 5, where you can find the 10 Commandments. All of these texts are about the laws that we need in place to live in community and live in right relationship with God and with each other. One of these commandments is, you shall not murder. The Hebrew word for murder is tirtzah, from the verb ratzah, to murder, the intentional killing or taking of human life. Remember, in Part 3, with the Genesis stories, we learned that life is connected with breath. Every time ratzah is used in the Hebrew Bible, it's talking about a living, breathing human being outside of the womb. So basically, this is inconclusive about what the Bible says about abortion. Come back for Part 5, the Bible say about abortion, Part 5, Jeremiah. Our previous texts have talked about rituals and laws for life in community. This is a book of prophecy. It's full of poetry and metaphors. Jeremiah has to establish his credibility as a prophet. He starts and claims that God knew and consecrated and appointed him a prophet before he was even born. That is beautiful and powerful. And it is disingenuous to use Jeremiah 1:5 as definitive proof that all life begins at conception. We also have to talk about Jeremiah 20:17. He laments and cries out, wishing he had died in his mother's womb. It's one of the only times in the Bible that actually talks about someone wanting or needing an abortion. But the verb there in Hebrew is mut, to die, not ratzah, to murder, that we had in the 10 Commandments. Therefore, abortion does not meet the biblical definition.